Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Monday night, November the 4th, the eve of NFL Trade Deadline Day. Certainly nothing else going on tomorrow that would interrupt or dissuade you from being totally consumed by the NFL Trade Deadline. Oh, maybe the college football playoff rankings. Those come out tomorrow. Surely nothing else is going on in the world that would be of import to you, but we have players that are on this roster that need to be moved. A win is a good thing. A win matters. A win should not distract you from what is still the goal of trying to improve a clearly and obviously flawed football team in the most organic way possible, which is replenishing the draft capital and trying to put together the best possible roster instead of going out and paying for one the way that they did this offseason. So we'll talk about some deadline thoughts. We'll talk about players that are untouchable at this point in time, and then we'll wrap things up before Monday Night Football with Bert. And in case you missed it, need you guys to share the broadcast around before we get up and rolling. We appreciate when you spend your time here with us. We also appreciate when you invite friends to share the show on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, wherever you're spending your time with us. Please do so. If you're hanging out on Twitter, retweet it. Facebook Live, you can share now to public. That's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. YouTube and Twitch, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell a friend to do the same here on this Monday night. We'll get you going. Hopefully, we'll get you out of here in time for you to enjoy an interesting Monday Night Football game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Titans legend DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see how much more he can be involved in tonight's game, which should be fairly competitive. These are two interesting teams. Certainly the Bucs are frisky and the Chiefs are the lone undefeated remaining in the NFL right now. All right, let's do it. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. Welcome. Lovely to have you here. If you're new to the show, what are you doing here? It's week 9. But either way, I'm proud as always to be presented to you by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. By TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. No workout ever recycled or repeated. Go to truemathfitness.com for more information. And by Zen Sports, where betting just got better, up to $100 on your no danger first wager at zensports.com today. Trade deadline is rapidly approaching. We are less than 24 hours away from the window closing for teams who are contenders to buy players off of teams who are spiraling or in the depths of their areas right now. I think of their respective divisions right now. I think that when you look at the kind of teams that are buying, you see a lot of different teams circling around similar positions. Edge rusher, wide receiver, those have been the two primary players or types of players that have been moved in the lead up. We've already had a lot of player movement, whether it's DeAndre Hopkins and Ernest Jones here in Tennessee, whether it's Devontae Adams going from Vegas to the Jets, of course, Amari Cooper from the Browns to the Bills, and the moves have not stopped there. It's just been a lot of exciting stuff. And given that the NFL trade deadline got pushed back a week later this year, you see a lot more teams playing things out, letting things develop, potentially accounting for new or unaccounted for injuries, all the different things that contenders will be looking at as they get ready for this stretch run, because after tonight's game, we will officially be in the second half of the NFL season. Praise be to the football gods above. So, there's 3 players that I think the Titans should consider moving. And there was a good article today by Sam Phelan at A2ZSports.com where you can read about these same 3 players. But there are a couple of things to consider here as to whether they will be able to move them or not. And that's something we will also talk about tonight. So with everything that's going on right now, as you look at it, I want to start with your Two Rivers Ford take, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch in the comment section. Which players must, capital must, the Titans trade before Tuesday? Just pick one player who you think this team needs to move. You can also provide an explanation as to why this team needs to move them, and we'll talk about it together. in the comment section your Two Rivers Ford take, as I mentioned. Henry says, the ever reliable YouTube chat. Yes, of course. Famously, as I said on the radio show today, none of you can be trusted in the live stream chat, but we love you anyway, and we appreciate your participation. Ashley wants the Chiefs to lose tonight. She's looking for the Bucks to come out on top. Josh and Nicole Bowman, rather. I'm not sure if I'm speaking to Josh or if I'm reading Nicole's comment, but either way, they say Tyler Boyd. Arden Key. Karen O'Keefe does not want them to move Arden Key. Interesting. Whereas Halo does. Major Keys agrees. Key, priority number one to move. Ashley adds Levis. Chill out. It's a joke. LOL. I mean, I'm not opposed to trading Levis. Not in the middle of the season, but I'm certainly not opposed. In fact, I'm very much in favor of trading Will Levis at the season's end. But we have plenty of time to get to that. Right now, we're focused on the deadline. Your Two Rivers Ford take is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That's Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service is what they offer. Who are the players that the Titans need to move? Now, I think that you guys have it correct. Many of you who have submitted this name, outside linebacker Arden Key makes the most sense. He has this season and next season left on the 3-year, $21 million plus deal that he signed as a part of Rand Carthon's first free agency class. But his money is going to go up. As Sam notes, it will increase by over $5 million to a total of $6.5 million in 2025. Now, they have an out, so they can get out from under the Key contract this year if they cannot move him. But if you can get somebody to take on that contract as well as that player and save you the time, I think that would be beneficial. Now, here's the thing about Arden Key. A team has to be willing to take him for the foreseeable future, or if they took his contract off the Titans' hands, they could get out from under it depending on when they released Arden Key if they chose to just treat it as a one-year rental. Now, I think at this point, there is a lot of different things that Arden Key has to offer teams. He's playing his best football, certainly the best football of his career. Arden Key, he was a huge part of that Titans win on Sunday afternoon at Nissan Stadium. He had the critical strip sack that Jeff Simmons recovered that provided critical points and sudden change opportunities for this Titans team to capitalize on in ways that they have not done so really all year long. Yesterday was the first time they've won the turnover battle. And Arden Key has been disrupting the quarterback as of late, really in the last 3 games. So it's the best stretch of Arden's career. I'm in favor of trying to move him. I don't think that Arden Key will be traded. I just don't think that they have a market for Arden Key right now, especially since the Denver Broncos made a trade of their own today, acquiring a pass rusher from the Broncos who is a more consistent, at least to date. He's a younger player than Arden Key, and he's a more consistently, at least he sacks the quarterback more consistently than Arden Key does. It will be curious to see whether or not the Detroit Lions, who are, of course, the name or the franchise at the top of everybody's mind right now when it comes to acquiring an edge rusher, they're very much trying to work out a deal with the Cleveland Browns for the services of Zadarius Smith. That's the worst kept secret in football right now. Those conversations are ongoing, but again, they have until 3 p.m. tomorrow to make that deal officially official. Now, for the Tennessee Titans at this point, because, and forgive me, the linebacker, I forgot to mention Baron Browning's name. They acquired Arizona Monty Ossenfort, who, of course, is familiar with the Titans roster and the organization. They acquired Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos today, which closes the door on Arden Key for Arizona, who he was most closely linked to. So unlikely at this point that Arden Key gets moved. Now, I'm also in favor of moving Amani Hooker. I think Amani Hooker makes sense for a lot of different teams. I think that Amani Hooker is playing really, really good football. He's just a quality football player. Now, you would say, well, why are you trying to ship away quality football players who still could provide something to this roster in the long term? And I would tell you, I like Amani Hooker personally. I think that he is another one who's been a good soldier. He's just a hard worker. He signed a 4-year deal a couple of years ago. I think that was John Robinson's last season. Excuse me. He signed a 3-year deal, $30 million deal. When was that? Back in, was that 2020? Yeah, 2019 is when he signed that 4-year, $3.25 million contract. Excuse me, that was his rookie year. Then in 2022, he signed a 3-year, $30 million contract with the Titans to extend that rookie deal. So their out was last year. He has very little dead money left on the books. He is technically still under contract for 2025, but it would be at a manageable figure. The cap hit would be 10.6, but potentially you could eat some of that money if you had to move Amani Hooker. I think that honestly, I think Amani Hooker is the best thing on the roster that a contender would want to trade for. So he is a free agent after the 2025 season. He is not a 2025 NFL free agent. And a reminder that Amani Hooker will only be 27 next year. He's still a young player. I think there should be thought given to, if you can't move him, extend him. That's where I'm at with the Titans safety. And the thing that complicates that, of course, is Quandre Diggs. That throws a wrench into the Titans situation. To not have Quandre Diggs available. He was another player on a 1-year contract playing quality football. Could have added something to a team had they been willing to trade for him, and the contract was infinitely more reasonable. A 1-year deal that was up to $4 million at this point. Karen asked me, am I crazy? Yes, Karen, I'm crazy. I just understand that this team is in need of draft picks and safeties. While they are not easy to find, it is a non-premium position that should be easier than most to find. And right now your focus is trying to stay competitive in 2024, but also trying to equip yourself in the best possible position in 2025. A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. All kinds of different workouts for lower body, upper body, core, conditioning, cardio, all manner of things to improve your health, your sleep, your physical fitness, your muscle mass, and everything in between. TrueMav Fitness has a great coaching staff and awesome facilities conveniently located in downtown Nashville in the Gulch. Go to TrueMavFitness.com for that first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. All right. Corey D. Jackson says the Liz Frank injury is tricky. Yeah, that's too bad because that plenty of players have had Liz Frank injuries before. They're difficult to rebound from, and Quandre Diggs is obviously up there in age at this point in time. So, of course, you wish the best for him. It sounds like they're going to be without him for the rest of the year, as well as without Lloyd Cushenberry at this particular point in time. That's a big hit to a Titans offensive line that really was just starting to find its footing. Corey Levin or Daniel Brunskill will get the opportunity to compete as the backup center, given that Brunskill started a guard last week. He can play more positions than Levin, or he is better at more positions than Levin. We'll see what they ultimately end up doing because center is critically important to get right. All right, so with that being said, one more player on the roster who I think should be moved, or at least given consideration to moving, is Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's on an expiring contract. They would be better off moving him. He has 21 catches for 184 yards this year. He is not somebody who you should be too attached to. He hasn't given you any kind of overwhelming dynamic playmaking ability. His primary task here was to come in here, play the slot, and help other players learn the offense. How well they have learned the offense, and I don't put that on Tyler Boyd, obviously, but there's been some bumps in the road, bumps and bruises in the road. With all of this, I think that Boyd would probably garner a day 3 pick, and at this point, you're just trying to accumulate as many picks as possible to give yourself flexibility to move up or back if required. I think there is a lot of different things that a team like a team in need of wide receiver help, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, could do with Tyler Boyd, that he is not able to accomplish here. Max says, don't you think Hooker and Simmons are non-negotiables when it comes to a trade? Oh, no. The only reason I wouldn't trade Jeff, is because you wouldn't get good enough draft value back for him. He had his best game. I mean, he had his best game of the year for sure on Sunday. He was very impactful. He got his 3rd sack of the season. He recovered that fumble that Arden Key forced. He was active in the backfield. He was disrupting the quarterback. He was making his presence felt against a not great Patriots offensive lineman. That's fine. Like, do it against who do it against the opponent that you have in front of you. And Jeff did that day. He was good. He was one of the best players on the field. Absolutely. But he's on a bad elbow. He's dealing with some kind of lower body injury. He had that giant wrap on his right leg when he was not in the game, and had to go down on a knee. So he's clearly dealing with something at this point in time that may not have him operating at full capacity. And he hasn't had his best season, certainly to date. So you would be selling low on Jeff Simmons, but none of them are non-negotiable. I mean, we will talk about players who are untouchable at the deadline here in just a second, but there are not that many players who are non-negotiables on this roster. You're 2-6. Everything should be reevaluated at this point in time, even though you got to win and even though you're feeling a little better than you did before yesterday's game. So from that to untouchable players, or players who are as close to untouchable as humanly possible. I don't think that Amani Hooker is. I don't think that Jeff Simmons is. I will tell you, though, that Jeffrey Simmons he is not going to get traded, because for no other reason. I mean, I think they would give legitimate consideration to Jeff if they could get back a first-round pick or even a second-round pick. But I think at most you would be getting a third for Jeff right now, and I think that you would have to eat some of the money on his contract as well to get a team to take that. It's a pretty cost-effective defensive lineman contract. He got done before a lot of these mega contracts, or he got done before a lot of the money spiked to where you're talking about $30 million a year opposed to $30 million a year as opposed to 20 or 25, that ballpark. But Jeff Simmons is, at his best, he's the fourth best defensive tackle in the NFL, which is still good, like still quality. But I mean, you see the difference between him and Dexter Lawrence. It's not even close. Quinnen Williams is significantly better. Chris Jones is significantly better at this point in time. And so if you were going to give Jeff up, you would want reasonable value, and I don't think you would get that reasonable value at this point in time. Esco says, how do I feel about Ridley drops and not being able to move him with his contract, Buck? Well, I mean, he caught a critical third down for you on Sunday. He helped you in a football game, even though he did have those drops. I mean, I don't know how I feel about, I know how I feel about the contract. It's not lived up to the value, but I don't necessarily know that that's all on Calvin Ridley. I need the quarterback play to be more stable, and I need the coaching staff to kind of get their shit together too. I think that's where it's at. Bert says in our group message, Amani and Jeff in a minute. I thought you meant you would trade them in a minute. Idiot. Just cackling back there, not doing his job 20 minutes into the show. Unbelievable. Yes, thank you. I'm so glad that the videos will be ready 20 minutes into the show. Cackling with laughter like he's the one that's done his job correctly today. Anyway, Major Key says, am I ready for the world to change tomorrow night? I mean, the world's not going to change. What's going to happen tomorrow night?
Yeah, like what's the worst that could happen? Like the Chiefs trade for another pass rusher? The world's going to end. Calm down. I lived through Tom Brady.
The world is a jacked up place no matter who wins the presidential election. It just depends on the severity of the jacked upness and who will be most at risk depending on which party gets elected. Like it's just a matter of who is most affected, not am I ready for the world to change, please. The world has changed a million different times, even in my lifetime, in your lifetime. I just local elections matter far more than the presidential election as far as I'm concerned. So that's what it is. Major Key says LMAO, the elections. Yes, we know. We're aware. That's what you're referencing. That's we understand.
That's my fault again. Big dumbass.
Oh God. Anyway, I think that with everything that's going on at this point in time, you would have to look at the Titans and say, all right, how many players are outright untouchable at this point? Because Jeff and Amani Hooker are not two that I would consider untouchable, though I do not expect Amani Hooker or Jeffrey Simmons to get traded. By the way, this is Jeffrey Simmons speaking in the locker room after this win, the first win that Jeff has been a part of since 2023, on the field for since 2023, because, of course, he was not available in that Dolphins game
Like I
this year.
said, props to everyone, people in our building, and like I said, people behind the scene that you don't see, they help us win this game. So it was great to win, and we played this game for them. And, the message last night, like I said, they hit home for me. So we finally got a win. Hopefully we can keep stacking on this.
Getting this win the way you guys did, like with the resiliency and everything, does it make it mean like anything more?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, when things get tough, we just fall back on each other. When tough times, like I said, maybe the offense go out there, and that's our job to go put out the fire. We tell our offense, pick your head up. We got your back. And like I said, we turned over the ball. We went on the field, got a 3-and-out, gave the ball right back to him, went down and scored. And that's what we need. Being able to play complementary football. Especially we talked about it a while back. Just coming off the field or on the sideline, you smack someone hand or tell them, let's go. I got your back. That means something. And that's where a connected team. When things get tough, that's when we could rely on each other because at the end of the day, connected team, that's what's going to last at the end.
Do you feel like that was something you guys lacked?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's just, like I said, when we're losing, it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it. But at the end of the day, we play for each other. It's just, when we're in good football, when we're playing good and, we got the momentum, it's just easy to, and it's better to see it. It's hard to see, that type of football when we're losing. Of course, you're not going to come to the sideline and everyone, happy and, when we're losing, just like last week. We down, so of course everyone's frustrated. But at the end of the day, like I said, we just have to keep relying on each other, rely on what we talk about throughout the week, and keep having each other back, and we'll win more games.
So that's Jeff Simmons talking in the locker room after the win 20-17 in overtime over the New England Patriots yesterday. A to Z Sports Prime Time is made possible by the wonderful folks at Zen Sports. Download the app. Get in on all the action. The big game is not that far away. You should already be thinking about what your wagers are going to be and how you can maximize your ability to get in on all the action. Of course, Zen Sports always provides you with the best opportunities to get in on the games. And you can also get a part of the brand new sweepstakes for all Tennessee customers, the big game sweepstakes, where you could win a grand prize of 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans or $10,000 cash. What's more, Zen Sports will also award 50 additional prizes, which include 2 tickets to any Tennessee sporting event or $100 cash. If you want in on the action, you can earn multiple entries every day just by betting on the Zen Sports app. For every bet you place, you will earn 1 entry, and for every dollar you bet, you can earn an additional entry. Like parlays, earn double the entries on every parlay placed. Zen Sports, betting just got better. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. No danger, first wager limited to plus 500 odds to qualify. Terms and conditions do apply. A qualifying wager for a wager entry must have minimum odds for any leg in the entry of at least minus 250 or worse American odds. For clarity, a wager at minus 251 does not qualify. Head to zensports.com/sweepstakes for terms and conditions. Must be 21 plus and in Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. That's a mouthful, but it's a great deal. So you should get in on the action that Zen Sports has to offer. With everything that you are looking at this point in time, there are a handful of players that I would consider untouchable on the trade market. Now, let me say this first and foremost. I don't think they're going to trade anybody else. I mean, I would be like, doesn't mean that something can't happen in the next 12 hours that we haven't heard about, or a call can be made that hadn't been made, before 7:19 p.m. Central Time right now. I mean, maybe Rain Carthon gets on the phone with somebody tonight, maybe late into the afternoon tomorrow. Deadline's at 3 p.m. Central Time. There's plenty of time for movement to happen. But right now, it's pretty quiet on the Titans front as we do this show today. And the Cardinals trade earlier for the Denver Broncos linebacker satisfies their edge rush needs. That's really the only place that's been actively interested or actively asking about Arden Key as far as I have heard. And of course, that doesn't mean that something can't change. But right now, it's been pretty low key because you have to have a market for the players that you're offering, and there's just not that big a market for these guys at this point in time. DeAndre Hopkins was the most viable thing that they had to offload, and they've already done that and had to eat some money on that deal. Josh Sabata says no player is untouchable for the right price, and that is the correct answer, Josh. That is 100% the correct answer. Brian Callahan was asked about the trade deadline today. This was the head coach at his Monday press conference.
How much have you addressed, or do you plan to address the deadline tomorrow with the team, and just kind of what is the emotion before deadline day?
Yeah, it's all part of the business. The players they're aware, they understand, they know. I won't address anything unless there's something to address. If we have something to address, then I will. And I can't say whether or not there will be or there won't be, but I just know that it's part of the business. It's not a fun part of the business, and you just try to be as transparent as you can and let guys know what's happening if there is something that happens.
The guys have said you showed us, you had a slideshow, the different people behind the scenes work within the building. Where did you get that idea? Is that something that you've done before?
It is, yeah. Two things I did was I really enjoy listening to teams when they win championships. I really like listening to the post-game interviews.
Okay, well, that part's not important for the purposes of the trade deadline, but that is Brian Callahan speaking today about the trade deadline. So with everything that's going on right now, there is I would say there's really only one player who I consider to be outright untouchable on this roster at this point, and that would be the left tackle, J.C. Latham. I'm not saying that I wouldn't hear a single offer. Like if you said, all right, I'll give you 2 first-round picks for J.C. Latham, 2 high first-round picks to a team that just hasn't been able to figure out the left tackle thing. You would take that call, right? You would have to. You would have no choice to. There just has to be commensurate value attached to the trade. But J.C. Latham, you've been chasing left tackle since Lawan, basically in 2020, like 5 games into 2020 when he pops his ACL and the repair is botched and he's never right after that. You've been chasing left tackle for 5 seasons at this point. You look like you've nailed it. You look like you've really put yourself in position, as long as this guy stays healthy, to have a blindside anchor for the next 8 to 10 years, or as long as J.C. Latham wants to play football. J.C. Latham's about the only one on the roster that I wouldn't move. I would absolutely trade Jeffrey Simmons for the right offer. I don't think they're going to get it. I would absolutely trade Amani Hooker for the right offer. I think that I don't know that they would get it, but we'll see how this develops here in the next couple of hours. I am the only one that's also borderline untouchable to me is Nick Westbrook-Akina, but honestly, I think that Nick deserves to play for a better football team, and I would like to see him compete at a meaningful level instead of, settling for what looks like a 2 to 4 win football team this year in 2024. I think Nick Westbrook-Akina could help a great many teams who have wide receiver needs beyond just Tyler Boyd. But of course, Titans fans would riot because the guy that they wanted to run out of town for the longest period of time at this point, NWI, is now their saving grace and their most reliable wide receiver at this point. So really the answer to this, just to me, is Latham. Will Levis, if you got the right call for Tajay Spears, Tony Pollard, man. Tony Pollard is just busting his ass for a football team that's going nowhere, and I hate it for him. I really, really do. But you signed Tony Pollard to a long-term deal as a running back. That's not going to be an easy contract to move. Nobody in their right mind would take Calvin Ridley's deal off your hands. But of course, if you got the right offer, you would absolutely move Calvin Ridley. And of course, my position is to trade Levis in the offseason. But I mean, I don't know, depending on what, I don't think a team would offer you anything for Will Levis before tomorrow's deadline, but everybody has their price. The only person that I would rule out, if you had to make me pick one, would be J.C. Latham. All right, Bert's ready for In Case You Missed It. Let's bring him in right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Get your dream address without the stress from GaryAshton.com. All right, Bert.
What's going on, dude?
Just waiting for you to upload videos that I've been waiting for a half hour.
Well, keep waiting. That's a great show today. Appreciate everybody coming out. Tomorrow we'll be talking about trade deadline Anyway, I know you had a kind of big weekend. I don't know if you got to watch everything that happened in college football, but
Did you? You had a bigger weekend than I did. You two were sloshed running around the stands of Neyland Stadium.
Be that as it may, still took in the sights and sounds of college football. Some interesting things. The first I'll bring you is I love a good Bobby Knight rage out from a coach. But it's not just like you can't whoop your kids in public anymore. Coaches cannot publicly berate children on the sideline anymore. And we're a weak country because of it. But be that as it may, ULM coach, I can't remember this cat's name, but he's probably going to be fired at the end of the year, was so upset about a player thinking he needed a substitute and then realizing he didn't need a substitute. Watch the video.
Well, they get heated on the sidelines in college football. That's offensive line coach Cameron Blankenship, and he is absolutely livid at his offensive lineman Drew Hutchison, and they've got a little spirited over there.
I've ran like that before. You ever had to run from your grandmama with a switch before? That's the run this cat hits.
Well, they get heated on the sidelines in college football. That's offensive line coach Cameron Blankenship, and he is absolutely livid at his offensive lineman Drew Hutchison, and they've got a little spirited over there.
He definitely called him a fat ass. 100%. That is my least favorite thing coaches do. It's like, oh, you want this guy to be so big, but anytime they get pissed, they're like, get your fat ass on the bench.
I want that offensive lineman to punch that coach in the face and break his jaw. There is no place for that. Like, the Bobby Knight rage out is one thing. Bobby also had, I would say more than a tinge of racism to him, and also just legitimate anger problems. And that's somebody who went to Indiana and who is I'm just the only sports team I care about as a fan in my life is Indiana basketball. Bobby was a problem. And Bobby Knight, there is no place for authoritarianism in coaching like that, where it's physical, in your face, screaming at you. Unless, and even then, there's no unless anymore. Like, there are just millions of better ways to reach players. That accomplishes jack shit. That dude deserves to get his ass beat. And I'm sorry that, that the college player had more comportment to him than the grown-ass man who's tasked with guiding and teaching him that player did not punch him square in his Lego face.
If you're a grown man and you leave both your feet at any time other than to save a child from a burning building, you are a weenie. If you're ever jumping up and down and both feet stomping on the ground, big L7 weenie. Did you know the SEC has a new tagline starting this season? SEC, it just means sore.
Oh no! Oh my God!
Florida fans apparently being very unruly, getting their ass beat by the cops at games. This would make me never go to a football game ever again if I'm just getting waylaid on by some cop.
Florida cops are built different. That, of course, is scenic Jacksonville, Florida, at Everbank/Trevor Bank Stadium, which is hilarious that they spent money to put a Trevor or a TR in front of Everbank Stadium the year that Trevor Lawrence is 2-7 and absolutely hideous. Oh my God, Baker Mayfield almost just threw a terrible pick. But I think that with the there was horror on my face first and foremost because I was unsure of the person. Not that it's acceptable for police brutality in any setting, but I was scared that the guy was going to come up and be a black guy and not an aged white guy, and then there were going to be real problems with the police brutality. Not that the aged white guy should also be waylaid on. There's probably a time and place, and that police officer could probably handle himself better. But of course, we understand why there is hypersensitivity around police and the way that they handle themselves and their aggression.
Last one for you. Diego Pavia gets his third victory over Hugh Freeze, the third time at Auburn. They were not happy about it after the game.
Hey, 3-0. 3-0.
Fuck it is.
3-0.
Hey, Glow.
3-0.
Let's go right here. Glow. Let's go right here.
Brother, man. Hey, he up 3-0. He up 3-0 right here. He up 3-0. This same field, this last season, he beat that ass. He came in here and beat that ass. Hey.
Then Auburn comes in and is like, who beat whose ass? Oh, you got your helmet off. You about to get stuck.
No. Take your ass home. You really take your ass home. I'm not doing shit. He in my face. Move.
54. I'm not doing shit. I'm not doing shit.
I didn't say anything. Y'all better get back on that side of the field. I didn't say nothing, but it's like he came in here and beat that ass.
I love that so much. I love that Vandy talks shit now. That makes me so happy. Congratulations to the Commodores. Your team has spine. That is a delight. 3 for the price of 1 on In Case You Missed It. What are you feeling guilty because you were late with the videos? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, they were all too short. I needed something to drag it out.
All right. It's going to do it for us tonight. We'll send Bert to the shadows. Radio show tomorrow, 10 to 1 on 104.5. The Zone will have trade deadline. We'll have the college football playoff rankings, the first edition to preview as well. So join us on 104.5 The Zone. It will be a great time, and I will see you. Oh, by the way, I'm on primetime tomorrow because it's trade deadline day. So it was important enough that we decided to burn my day off, but that's okay. We persevere, and we will bring you the best content humanly possible right here on the A to Z Sports Streaming Network. See you guys.
Go home! Go home! Go home! You're embarrassing Nashville! Go home!